My name is Roger Cook, aka DJ Cook 'em Up, and today on Louisiana Unleashed, we have good friend, old friend. Really, really proud of what she's done. We got Hope. How you doing, Hope?
How you doing, Roger? It's so good to be here.
All right. Tell us a little bit about you, Hope. Tell us a little bit about you.
Oh, wow. As you know, I grew up in Amite. Uh, it was awesome. It was an
And it
awesome
was.
journey. It really
And
was because
yeah.
we were so close and
Right.
such a close-knit family. It's the country.
Yeah.
What else can you say?
It is. We thought we was gonna do something different, but it was real nice. It was. I mean, small communities.
Yes.
And I've been in bigger communities. It's a big difference.
And see, with
big
me, our community looked even smaller because it was 14 of us. I'm one of 14. I'm the 11th child
Okay.
to Joseph and Ruth Foster of Amite.
Right. Right. And then we all graduated in '86.
Yes.
Good year. Great year.
Gosh, it's been that long.
Yeah. It's been a long time. But let's get into your foundation, because I got some questions for you later. But your foundation. Let's talk a little bit about your foundation.
Oh, wow. I started a company called Hope Cares.
Okay.
And it's community activists reaching equal solidarity. And this company was birthed, excuse me, from a lot of my experience, basically, from my journey. I journeyed through mental illness. I journeyed through law enforcement. I journeyed through childhood trauma. And actually what I wanted to do with this company, I wanted to build something that I wanted to see. I wanted to build a community around me that I needed, a safe community. And I call it a super community. It's safe, it's united, it's productive, it's equal, and it's restored. That is my vision for what I needed while I was transitioning.
Okay. And what do you mean transitioning? Transitioning from
Up through life.
Through life?
Life is just a journey.
Right.
It's a journey, and we are transitioning every day from one thing to the next. I heard someone say we are all on this journey somewhere between change and breakthrough.
Okay.
We're between change and breakthrough, so we're always transitioning from one phase to another. We transition from being a newborn to a toddler,
Right.
you know.
Okay. So the transition is in all phases of your life.
Yes.
Like, this is something new for me to get all this information that you have
Mhm.
for us about the illness, the depression, the
Yes.
other little things that we talking about. We'll get into that in a minute.
Okay.
Talk a little bit more about this thing, because I'm interested in this super. This super.
Well, Hope Cares, I had the first thought of it after Katrina. That was in 2005. And I watched people suffering. They were suffering after that storm, and I had never seen anything like that. That just blew me away. The losses that people had gone through. And that alone had caused people to develop PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder,
Right.
because trying to survive Katrina was trauma to a lot of people,
Okay.
law enforcement, the civilians, to everybody involved.
Okay.
It was trauma. And watching that, I just wanted to do something. I
Okay.
wanted to help make it right any way I could.
Okay.
So it inspired me, really.
The Katrina inspired you. Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Now you have a couple of other organizations that you're doing also.
Yes, there's one called Mommy. Mommy is really dear to my heart because that's what my son calls me.
Okay.
But I spell it MOMI, and it's Mothers of Mental Illness.
Okay.
And that was birthed because I lost my son to mental illness.
Okay.
He committed suicide September the 7th, 2017. And that was a difficult transition.
Okay.
And in doing so, in transitioning through my son committing suicide, I met a young lady, and that mommy was birthed from that meeting with her, because she and I sat there and we talked about what it felt like to transition with our child through that.
Okay.
And it became a moment for us.
Wow.
And then there's one called Family, which is Fathers Against Mental Illness for fathers, of course. And it's a support group where fathers come together and they talk about what's going on and how life is issuing them some blows along the way, and how they're transitioning through different phases of their own journey. And it's about support, and it's about helping one another. There's one called Angel in the Dark that I started for police officers. A lot of police officers suffer from PTSD. 30% of it's 30% of male officers suffer from PTSD. 50% of female officers suffer from PTSD.
Okay.
It also gives support. I also have some support groups for boys and girls. The one for girls is called Shoes, and that's Saving the Hope of Eternity Sisters. What people fail to realize, 21% of the what is that when they have to transition through the foster care alumni, 21% of the foster care alumni suffers from PTSD because they've been abandoned, and they are suffering from abandonment issues. And these are girls and boys. So when I thought about them and all that they're transitioning through, I wanted to give them a safe place to go to, which is Shoes for the girls. And then the one for boys is called Rush, RUSH, and that's Reaching United Sons of Hope. And it's about teaching them about sisterhood and brotherhood and how to transition through life's problems.
So what you're at these homes that they go to, what do they talk? They talk to a lot, or is it conversation, or do they express? You let them express what their feelings are, then you can talk to them. Or what do they do when they go there?
Actually, I go to them wherever they are, whether it's the juvenile detention center or it's in their classrooms, at school, at home, and I just let them talk.
Okay.
That's the biggest. People don't realize that that's the key to reaching children. That's the key to giving them their voice.
Okay.
Let them talk.
So we were taught just shut up. So it's better to let them talk to you.
It's better to let them talk.
Okay.
Give them their voice.
Okay.
So that that's how they learn how to communicate and express themselves.
By talking.
Yeah, so I'll start with, okay, what was the low point of your day? I always start with the low point,
Right.
so that they can get it out. Oh, and my goodness, they would tell you everything that happened on the low point. And then I ask, well, what was the high point of your day? And they'll sit there and they will think, and then they'll start naming all the high points. And I'll end on the high point because I want them to end on a high note.
Right.
But they need to express what they're going through, because these children are transitioning through a lot, because you're placing a lot of children in one environment, and they are so different, and you're expecting miracles to happen when no one have taught them how to communicate.
Right. Right.
They don't know. And so that's where the bullying and everything comes into play.
Bullying. Can you give us bullying? We thought it was gone,
Oh,
but
bullying will never go
Yes.
away. You know why?
Why?
Because it starts on the inside.
Right.
Because we bully ourselves. We will stand in a mirror and say, oh gosh, I'm so fat. Oh gosh, I'm so ugly. Oh gosh, my hair. Oh gosh.
Right.
You're bullying yourself.
Okay.
And so if you're going to do that to yourself, imagine what you'll do to a stranger.
So
You don't-
conversation
Yes.
will fix a lot of this stuff.
Yes. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
So you think that these programs that you're coming up with, you're gonna have a? I know we can't save everybody, but it seems like you're gonna reach a lot of people.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Because see, this isn't, like you said, it isn't for everybody. Everybody isn't broken.
Right. Right.
Everybody isn't hurt, because this is for anyone who's dealing with any hurt, habit, or hang up.
What if they don't know they have that hang up and they always got an anger issue with them and they don't if somebody's angry all the time, they do have an issue with them though.
Right.
Okay.
Right. But you know, and like you said, a lot of times you don't know. A lot of times you don't know. That's why it's good to talk.
Okay.
Somebody will tell you, hey, you have a problem. They told me.
Okay. What got you so involved in the what we call depression field?
Okay. Back in 2003, I was working for a company that sent me to Jackson, Mississippi. And when I pulled on the property, this was 9:45 a.m. on a Sunday morning. And when I pulled on the property, I proceeded to lean over to my right to gather my extra uniform, my lunch and stuff off my seat, my purse. And while I was gathering my items, someone knocked on my window. And I turned and my window was cracked just a little bit. And I looked out the window, and this young man, he proceeded to ask me for directions. So I gave him the directions. And when I turned back to gather my items to pick them up, I had the weirdest feeling in the pit of my stomach. And before I knew it, my left arm was trying to lock the door, but I couldn't do it in time. And he yanked the door open. He pulled out a loaded .38, pointed it directly at me, and told me to get out of the car.
Okay.
I got out of the car, and he proceeded to tell me, do not make any sounds. Do not bring any attention to us. If you raise your voice, I'm going to kill you. And everything he would tell me, he would put, I'm going to kill you behind it.
Wow.
Because he was trying to program my mind into believing that he really was going to kill me. And after a while, he grabbed my left arm, and he was shoving me backwards, and he was trying to shove me into the trunk of his car. At this point, I'm pleading and I'm crying, begging for my life. And I heard a voice. It was so weird. All of a sudden, I heard something say, Hope, you're going to have to fight. And it was like all the blood drained from my head to my feet. My feet couldn't move. He kept trying to shove me backwards, and he was still talking to me,
Right.
telling me, if you scream, I'm going to kill you. He just kept saying, I'm going to kill you. And after a while, we started fighting. And we fought in the middle of the street that day. And we ended up a long ways away from the actual building. And by the time I was able to get away from him, I couldn't walk. So I started crawling. And I'm crawling, trying to get to the building. And when I turn around and look over my shoulder, there he is, crawling, trying to get to the gun. And he grabbed the gun, and he pointed it at me. And at that point, a gentleman walked out of the building because he heard the noise and the commotion because I was screaming at the top of my lungs. And I ran into the restroom, and I remember being over the toilet, and I'm vomiting. And all I could see was everything was turning black. And later on, when I talked to a doctor, which was actually 3 days after that, they said that the PTSD had started setting in early because 2 days after that incident, I came to in my closet. I was shaking, I was cold, I was sweating, I was disoriented, I was crying. And my husband was at work, my children, they were at school. No one was there, no one saw it, so it didn't happen since no one saw it. Well, 3 days after that, it happened again. This time I came to underneath my bed. I was shaking, I was cold, I was disoriented, I was crying. And my children were looking for me. And I can hear their voices, and they sound like they were crying, and that really messed me up. So once I calmed them down and everything and gathered myself, the next day I went in to see a psychiatrist. And that's when I heard about PTSD.
Okay.
And that's when they started telling me that I had post-traumatic stress disorder, and it was because of the trauma that I had gone through with the gentleman trying to attack me. It was like my mind, whenever I would think about the situation, my mind would just kind of shut down. And it was like it was trying to protect me. And I would just black out. I would pass out cold because I was so afraid. I would have nightmares. I would wake up because in the middle of the night, it was like I would hear the gun go off. it didn't when we had the ordeal, when we had the confrontation, but in my dreams. And that's how I would wake up with the gun going off. And the PTSD, it was just destroying me from the inside out.
Okay.
I was turning into something that I just totally didn't know. I didn't recognize myself anymore. Would have these angry outbursts. My children, they became horrified because I never knew when I was going to burst into tears. I would have these emotional meltdowns. I would walk to my door to leave the house because I was so used to taking my kids everywhere and going places with them. And I would go to the door, and I'd go to put my hand on the door, and I would just have a meltdown. I would have a panic attack. I would just lose it because I couldn't handle going outside anymore because I just knew I was going to get attacked again.
Really? Okay.
It became horrible. I was a prisoner of my own home.
Wow. And that's part of your depression?
Oh, yes. That's where it stemmed from. And I went into counseling. They put me on medication immediately. And 3 months into counseling and medication and meditating, I felt like a totally different person. I felt amazing. But then I started sharing it with other people. And I think it was too soon because I was still a little sensitive about my ordeal because everybody don't understand it because if they've never been through any type of traumatic experience, they really can't connect. And it's hard to explain it to someone who don't get it. And so when I was telling them about it, they were like, oh, my God, you are so crazy. No, I was really crazy before this happened, but it was just, they make you feel so bad because there's this huge stigma behind mental illness, and that's the reason why people won't talk about it. Okay. But my ordeal, it inspired me to do something for someone else because I know what it made me feel like. And I said, other people are dealing with this crap too. Right. And that's when I started researching. I started talking to my superiors, because I went back into law enforcement and I started talking to the chiefs and the sheriffs and telling them, there are some police officers, wonderful police officers out here who are battling something called PTSD and they need some help. Okay. And they were like, well, what are you talking about? And so I started talking to a lieutenant with the sheriff's office. Mm-hmm. And when we brought it into Sheriff Edwards, he was totally on board. That's why I totally love him because he gave me a chance to birth something that he had never heard about. Right. And he allowed me to take his officers to a private retreat, and we talked about transitioning through traumatic events and how you would be amazed at how many people just in the general public, 3.5% of the general public deals with some form of mental illness. Okay. And those numbers, I'm pretty sure they are higher with everything that's going on, in the world. There's so many people going through so many things. Life will deliver you some stuff that...
Right. And then, but you was in the law enforcement. You was actually putting yourself on the front line of most of the weirdos and the crazy people. And well, I wouldn't call them crazy. Maybe they suffering from something.
And that's what I found. That's why I love law enforcement because I came into contact with so many different people. And to me, I didn't see it as being crazy. I never saw it that way. I saw it as a form of brokenness. Something broke them. That's all. Something happened along the way.
Okay. And then your programs help people in these situations where they
broke. It's about restoration.
Right.
I just believe you can be restored.
Anybody.
I believe it. I believe, but it's a journey, and you have to participate. You have to participate in your own mental well-being. You have to.
And okay, this is one of my. I like this interview because I've learned a lot. I mean, because some of the stuff you don't know. I mean, depression, PTSD.
It's real.
It's real. It's amazing, but Hope has told me conversation will help you through. It's not going to cure it, right? But
It isn't going to
will.
cure it, but it
It
helps.
helps. It helps. And you have places where PTSD and depression and people can come talk to because you've actually experienced it.
Yes.
We, man, I love this episode right here. I'm glad you came out. And
Me
she
too.
came all the way from Bell Chase to Hammond. That's not a long distance for a lot of people, but that's a pretty good distance for some of us that hadn't. 15 miles is far, you know. And we appreciate you being on the show. And just close it out by giving them some words of encouragement or something.
This journey has taught me some awesome things. But the main one is to be grateful. And that is what this journey is about. It's about me being grateful that I was able to transition through some things that could have caused me to be much more delayed as far as my journey is concerned. So to each of you out there, whatever you're going through, be grateful, number one. Wake up every morning with a grateful heart. And number two, remember that whatever you're going through, you can get through it. You can get through it. Start by talking about it. It helps. I know, because I had some awesome people that I was able to sit and glean from, and I'm still gleaning from every single day. And talking really helps. Let's talk about it.
Hope, thank you for being on Louisiana Unleashed.
You're welcome.
We out.
Yeah. LA Unleashed, yeah. 985.